Hello YouTube, welcome back to the Video Gamers channel. You got me, VGH, along with a new deck list. I say new because it's new to me, but a lot of you probably already know this guy. Palkia Vstar and Vulpix V Star. Now, these cards have been in rotation for a while, but we did try and do something a little bit fun with Froslass EX with the deck. Unfortunately, I couldn't get Froslass EX to work, but this video more so shows off how strong the two are outside of Froslass EX. Even if Froslass was kind of the gimmick we were going with this deck, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was reminded that these cards exist and how strong they really are. I'm going to be showing you 4 games, and we've put it in a new style where I record the games, speed them up, edit them out, and then I go basically record over it and give my 2 cents as to what happens during the game afterwards. If you guys like this kind of concept, if you think I should slow it down, if I should add different kinds of setups or video pieces that you may have seen in other videos, please put in your comments section below. If you have any fun decks that you guys want to show off, you can join our Discord, which again you can find in the description below. Joining the Discord is awesome because you guys will be able to see when we go live. Whenever we do our videos, we go streaming on twitch.tv/videogamehouse, capital VGH, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As of this moment, we do it on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Normally we do a lot of tournament content as of this moment, so we like to play Pokemon TCG on tournaments, and we bring in a lot of fun stuff, and we just strive and connive to see how far we can make it with the weirdest, most fun, wacky decks you guys have possibly ever seen. This one is actually better than I expected. In terms of being a meme, Froslass was not cutting it. But being a competitively good deck, Palkia is just insane. Let's get over to game number 1 and show you what I meant by they exist in the deck, but they don't really do much with Froslass. Now, I did miss the record button when I started this game, so I kind of missed a little bit of turn 1, but I believe all that happened here was my opening was Vulpix and Radiant Greninja. I Battle VIP'd to get these two guys on the board, and I discarded an energy with the Greninja in order to draw 2 cards, and we're going to start from there. I'm still just going to put in my 2 cents to add a little bit more to it. This is at 2.5 times speed. I'll probably lower it to 2 in the future, but for this one, this is basically how it went. And let me just get my stuff put together here. So, like I said, first turn was just about a little bit of setup. We obviously don't need more than 1 Snover. It could just cause a problem later. We put 1 energy on our Vulpix V in order to start our game, and my opponent looks like they are playing a very big turbo list, showing a Squawkabilly EX and a Radiant Ninja on 1. Unfortunately, opponent didn't go too far with that board. You can see that discard pile. You need to pause it, you can. Just Squawkabilly to get rid of everything, and a Pokemon Stop for a whiff. He uses Pal Pad in order to put Thornton back. Not entirely sure what it's going to be for, outside of maybe a Backscalibur play, high energies, Thornton into Iron Hands maybe. Luminous energy down with a research thrown to get a reset of the hand. Very big turbo. They have gone through half of their deck already, and just setting up their bench with a Battle VIP and a Level Ball, and doing 200 damage for 220 damage for Motivate, choosing to add energies onto Greninja. Seeing that kind of a play just allows me to go, I can do this and remove the only threat that's really a problem, which I see as Backscalibur. Using my opponent's Pokemon Stop, which I dislike doing, I was able to get everything I needed in order for Palkia Vstar, in order to set it all up, set up my V-Star power, and now I'm just deliberating whether or not I should use Switch or not. I use Switch so I can keep the energy on the Vulpix V, and just hitting an Iono for hand disruption. Ended up with Froslass, and you'll see in a moment that it actually did do something, but it unfortunately was the best it was ever going to do. I figured my opponent's entire energy engine was that Frigibax, so I figured remove it, I win the game. And, well, if you know anything about a draw engine or a energy engine, removing one of them definitely halts your opponent's movements. My opponent goes Clara, and because Pokemon Go Live, or Pokemon TCG Live is so incredible at its UI, it doesn't show me what he picks up. I just have to memorize what he has in the discard pile, clearly. So, not too worried about what he did get. If you guys checked the discard pile from before, you'd be able to figure it out. Not too important, though, throughout the remainder of the game. He uses Ninja, just draws 2 more cards. He tries to set himself back up on the bench. I see the Frigibax is back, but he only set up 1. So my entire thought process is remove it, win the game. Yeah, I'm just pointing out that Backscalibur is the energy engine there, and if I remove it, we're good to go. This is the only time that Froslass does basically anything, and it's by doing nothing. He wanted to weaken my Mons, so it makes it easier for him to take it out later, so he weakens Alolan Vulpix because it already has damage counters on it. And Greninja will be able to do 90 damage and actually take it out later. And he targeted Froslass. Froslass is a Terra Pokemon, so Pokemon on the bench that are Terras, luckily for us, don't take damage. So I'm just setting myself up, use the Cross Switcher. I see that wonderful Frigibax there. So Cross Switcher in the Frigibax, and Palkia just reigns supreme, removing everything. I'm still doing my turn because, you know, obviously I need to set myself up, but as soon as I remove this Frigibax, the game just ends there. So moving from game 1 over to game 2, I think I forgot to put transitions in, so the other 2 games, I think it just jumps from one game to the other, so apologize for that, but this is like a first time for me to try and do the whole like editing and then shooting over the edit and then adding music later. So like it's kind of a weird thing for me. Unfortunately, we mulligan in this game, and mulligan to give my opponent anything is terrible because we aren't actually queued up to deal with a lot of things. So giving my opponent anything, pretty good. And it looks as though the 2 mulligans I gave him 2 more Pokemon because he wouldn't have started Lumineon otherwise. Well, maybe he would have if the other one was Brute Bonnet. Brute Bonnet's pretty bad in the active. I just use the Greninja's ability, just draw 2, and my entire hand is just outright making me feel bad. So my opponent's opening, getting a Nest Ball, Battle VIP setups, so there was very little I can do here. He goes with the research and gets rid of that spicy curry, which unfortunately could have done a little bit more here. It's not too bad, but it's very very prosperous in the game. With Town Store, he searches out the Ancient Gear, so that way he's able to use the Brute Bonnet's Poison, which poisons us both. Unfortunately, comboing that with Radiant Sneasler, it does 30 damage between turns, which is exactly enough to take out Greninja. So now I'm just trying to scrounge together something of a turn to try and set myself up. If I can use Melony, I can get a Water Energy in order to set up the Palkia, hopefully draw into another one. I have 8 energies in the deck, seems pretty solid. So I believe we just run into it. And Raihan doesn't trigger because he got Poison. Since he got Poison knockout instead of Attack knockout, Raihan doesn't trigger. My draw, terrible. So now I'm just looking at my board going, oh, this is not the bueno. Very bad. Our only energy was in the discard was picked up from Melony, so we couldn't use V-Star Portal to set ourselves up and take some hits. My opponent is doing well. Iono hand disruption. My hand was actually garbage, so honestly that Iono helped me more than hurt me. That's why Iono's like weird in my opinion. My opponent did get Poison and Burn on his 0 energy Electrode, putting 2 energy on the Bibarel so that way he has a free retreat cost, sort of. Putting me at 230 damage. I still have 50, so I can survive one more between turns move, which is all I'd really want to go for. And luckily for me, we are still able to equip for his second energy and take a knockout on the Electrode. Getting me 2 prizes. It's putting me ahead, but only for a very short amount of time. He puts Bibarel up forward because he knows he can use it as a free retreat cost outside of all of his other Pokemon that do not have energy on them. Cloth into double turbo. We're now seeing 1 double turbo in the discard. A Cloth, which means we have, well, unfortunately, a second double turbo going into the discard if it gets knocked out. This deck runs, I believe, only 4 double turbos in order to attack, so it doesn't feel great. He didn't even need to attack here. He could have passed. The Poison would have done 30 damage and taken me out regardless. So it might have been safer to let one of his other Pokemon go down instead of losing a Cloth here because he doesn't have any attackers. His bench being full with a Lumineon and a Squawkabilly just making it pretty bad. Since we were unable to use the ability before, well, lucky for us, now we have energies in the discard pile. So let's collect some more things, try and get out there, throw away all of our energies, so we were able to just bring them all back anyway. And I did get a little confused as to what I should pick here, because I'm like, all of these are like okay, but I'm trying to figure out how much damage I'm gonna need Palkia to do, so I figured why not get more Pokemon. I used Retrieval only for 1 because we had 4 in the discard, so I need to get energy everywhere. And following what he did, I put energy on my bench Pokemon, so in case he bosses them up to try and stall for turns, I'm able to retreat them out with the 1 energy that's on them, and or potentially use them if, say, my Snorunt needs to evolve into Froslass. I need only 1 energy to attack. Same thing with Vulpix. I can still put 2 energies on it in order to attack with the Vulpix V-Star if I get there. My opponent using Hand Disruption here does kind of suck, and like I just said, the escape rope instead of a boss's orders. It would hurt me if the Cloth had another energy. So he's got 22 cards in his deck. We don't know where the other 2 double turbos that we've seen are, so Snorunt came in clutch here. He's only able to do 30 damage and not take an extra prize. So I'm allowed to set myself up any way that I want, using my Irida, setting up my Pokemon, and just kind of relaxing as if nothing's going on. Basically get the retreat to heal and stay safe. I don't lose a prize, so he still has 3 prizes to take before he wins, and I'm able to remove another beat stick that he has. We're down to 2 prizes. My opponent's got 3 on him, so he has to knock out 2 Pokemon here to win the game. But unfortunately, it is not looking fantastic for him. Seeing as there's not a lot he can do here, it looks like he's just given up on the damage because I'm able to hit 200 very easily with Palkia. And he actually lowers himself to 200 exactly, which grants me the 200 damage I need in order to just take the knockout, granting us another win. Snorunt did something there. If nothing else, it was absorbing poison and making my 2 prizers not take any damage, I guess. So I guess it did something, but not something that any other Pokemon with more than 30 HP could have done. So it didn't really change the outcome of the game that much. But it was, I mean, it did something, you know? I don't have to say that it did nothing. In our 3rd game, we hit Ting Lu. Now, this matchup was a little odd, and a lot of things like happened that I just wasn't sure of what my opponent was thinking. Maybe it was their first time running the deck. Maybe they were trying to do something funny. Maybe they were just trying to, I don't know, maybe give me a homie drop to give me 1 extra turn because he thought he had it. I don't know. So my opponent's starting with the awesome, very skillful play of Battle VIP in order to set himself up. And he just removes my my abilities using the what's it called, Iron Valance, in order to just take away any chance I have of using my abilities, which I don't expect that I'm going to be able to throughout the remainder of the game. So in instances like this, you normally can still use Vulpix V-Star's attack, which is a 0 energy attack, but it works against mainly V-Dex. So it has a counter to V-Dex, it still has an energy booster. Just unfortunately, this just didn't go the way that we wanted it to early game. But we tried to play it out, see where everything went, tried to get to where we wanted to go with it, and basically just look for a Palkia Vstar here in order to push up some damage. Granted, we didn't get there. We just kind of let things rock the way they were and see if we can't try and remove Ting Lu in a better way. He does use Penny to get rid of that Squawk ability off of his bench, which is nice, and Ultra Balls to throw everything away because he doesn't need it. Puts up some damage, and unfortunately Palkia is still taking a teensy bit of damage. We need to push damage here since we're not finding what we need. We're just gonna try and get somewhere using Irida. We could have retreated to do more damage, but we were not doing 240 with the bench that we had. I believe we need 2 more Mons in order to do that, so we had no way of really getting there. Instead of just, you know, ignoring the turn, we wanted to put up the 160 to weaken the Ting Lu. We can do 160 again to knock it out, and or with the Palkia V-Star, just put 1 more energy, which my opponent does know I have in my hand, to win the game at this point. Luckily for us, my opponent's just, I mean, not lucky for us, sorry. My opponent moves damage counters using the Alakazam, and I don't know what this was for. I think my opponent thought that he can just ignore the Alolan Vulpix entirely and instead just knock it out the next turn with Iron Valance to get prizing, but that still allows me time with Ting Lu to just knock it out. So we just take a knockout here, expressing the fact that if my opponent doesn't have an energy on that Ting Lu to weaken it or put damage counters on the other Palkia, we could still get the Palkia V-Star, which is kind of what we're going for. My opponent's eyes are focused on knocking out the Vulpix, so it does take away those damage counters, and, you know, unfortunately he was able to find that Ting Lu's energy, so we did get kind of stomped on for that one. And I believe that his downfall is that Alakazam move with that 2 damage counters off of my V-Star in the back and pushing it to the active to knock it out. If he just left it there, or if he pushed in Ting Lu to get the attack off instead to knock it out, he would have been in a much better position. I push in Pokemon just to make sure that it, you know, doesn't get knocked me out or weaken my V-Star because I need it. And then Roxanne for hand disruption. We have found our switch. We have plenty of different options we can go with. Using Luminous Sign, we're filling up the bench as best we can with, you know, Lumineon. Didn't really mind what we used, just needed to start setting things up. And I try and bring my opponent's active attention away from my Palkia and onto my Lumineon, so that way I can, you know, get a free retreat cost in a way and a free safety zone. My opponent brings up boss. He wants to take my 2 prizes. Not much I can do about it, but he weakens my Lumineon down to 150 HP left, which obviously is a knockout for Ting Lu, which is his main attacker. He used Dino Cry rather than attacking here, which is a little odd, but it's pretty nice for me because I'm able to just figure myself out. He moved 2 damage counters on Lumineon to try and weaken it for Ting Lu damage, but he must have just forgot I had my V-Star power, and then I just kind of whiffed this turn pretty hard. Me thinking, oh, I can just, you know, put 2 I would just put 2 energies on the Palkia, and then 1 energy on my bench, and then retreat and attack and get a knockout. My 1 IQ decided to put 2 on the Lumineon, thinking, oh, we'll use Lumineon's attack. It was a poor choice by me, because I easily could have just taken out the Ting Lu, and then we just be ahead, but instead we whiff. So, since my opponent didn't take out Lumineon, we just go for the Aqua return, and we set ourselves up for a safety play, just bringing out a slightly damaged Palkia Vstar, which my opponent cannot knock out with 1 hit. So this is where the entire game is just like basically set up in a way that I can take it. I hit an Iono for to get me to get 2 cards, and that boss's order is basically what saves me. I can't leave that in the active because 7 damage counters I go down, and I subspace Swell. He's down to 100 HP. His Pokemon is completely just useless at this point, and he knows I can do 140 again, which will knock it out. So he's trying to play this super duper smart because all he has to do is stall me for 1 round, and I don't, you know, he doesn't know what I have for 2 cards. I have 34 cards in my deck. Could be anything. So he moves 2 damage counters, he Iron Balance, he retreats, Iron Balance again, so I'm at 270, and then he just ends his turn with a Dino Cry. Not knowing I had a boss's orders, I legitimately just get super confused on how lucky I got, and I'm like, even I'm confused, like, that's insane. And then take the knockout for the game. We won that by 10 damage. I don't think that's the same one that got the 2 damage earlier moved off of it, but if it was, it's funny enough. So into our last game, we did switch out the Froslass and the Snorunt because I didn't think it was really doing anything, only to put in Bidoof and Bibarel, who also don't technically do anything except just be sponges. They just get squared up, punched in the face, and do nothing. So I couldn't figure out what those 4 cards could have been or should have been to make the deck slightly stronger, but they just kept getting hit. They couldn't do anything. They just kind of stood there. But obviously it still shows off just how strong Palkia is and Alolan Vulpix because their teamwork works. Especially in this game, Vulpix is actually kind of the star of the match. My opponent starting with Elsa Sparkle, able to set up the energies, or Elisa Sparkle, I always get them confused. And he just uses his turn 1 in order to set this up. This is not Fusion Strike Mew, this is not Turbo Mew, this is some sort of meta hybrid Psychic Mew. I've never seen it before, and I'm not sure if this is this guy's special build or if there is a build that I just don't know about. My opponent does set up 2 Mew VMAXs, which is fantastic because they don't have Psychic Leap anymore, meaning I can actually take him down. And of course, as you see there, Bidoof just kind of gets punched in the face, and we had enough time to set up energies for Alolan Vulpix, but we don't get theirs because we don't find the 3rd energy. So since we couldn't do anything, we couldn't find Palkia Vstar, we didn't want to give up on the attack, we punch in with the Vstar power to do 210 damage, which is a free attack that does 70 damage times the amount of Vs. If we just had 5 Vs on the board, it was a knockout, but my opponent just couldn't set up fast enough. He hits ahead on the Cramomatic, which that card is such a pain in the neck. When you use it, fails every time. When your opponent uses it, it hits every time. It's great. Alright, so we haven't seen anything. He has to switch out because he did use Techno Blast last turn, only to use Techno Blast again. So he hits for 210. We're trying to put up some damage. We know our Vulpix is not surviving through a lot of things, so we're just going to take the damage where we can get it. Again, there is no Psychic Leap on the board, so we can't remove this damage as of yet. So we're going to see where we get from here. He has 5 Pokemon, so he's going to try and discard. And he goes for a Mew. This is scary because he can still use the Psychic Leap in order to return the Mew VMAX on the board to the deck, which will save him from getting knocked out, which realistically he should have just done that with this one right here, but he chose not to. Since he didn't choose to do that, it can cause a problem. We have a Raihan putting an energy on our Palkia, getting our Palkia Vstar so we can finally evolve the darn thing, get the V-Star, go with the energy retrieval to get our energies back, and set ourselves up to do damage. He has to do 260 damage in one move, which is not impossible with Mew VMAX, but he would need to find the Fusion Strike energy and a Sparkle in order to set up the other 3 remaining Fusion Strike energies from his deck, so he has all 4 on the board and can do big damage. He thinks he's safe because of the Meloetta that he puts down. He also plays the Silent Crest Chili card, which gets you 3 Fusion Strike Pokemon out of your deck. That was crazy that I saw that. And again, like I said, my opponent thinks he's safe using the Meloetta as a single prize. I use Ultra Ball, get a boss's orders in my Lumineon, and then bring up his Mew VMAX that he didn't jump back with, taking it out and taking 3 prizes. So, like I said, I had Froslass in the deck to do something, but Froslass was basically considered useless. In game 1, because it was a Froslass, it didn't take bench damage from Greninja, and in game 2, because I had a Snow Run, I was able to absorb poison damage rather than one of my 2 prizers that most likely would not have changed the game too much. It could have been any Pokemon realistically, but it was there. Game 3, it just did nothing. So in game 4, we just switched it out, and the Pokemon we switched it into still did nothing. So this is just a quick reminder that Palkia and Vulpix still good, still strong, still incredibly just useful. And I hope you guys got to see the video and enjoy it just as much as I got to enjoy playing it. The deck list will be in the description, but feel free to change the heck out of it because it's not the best. But if you have the cards for Palkia, maybe you can get the starter deck on live. It's not hard to build the deck, and it is a lot of fun to play. You know, just Greninja knocking out 2 basics, Palkia hitting for 260 really easily, Vulpix, if you have a good matchup, your opponent just cannot hit you if they have abilities on their active. So all of the plays make the deck a lot of fun and really strong to play. If you guys enjoyed it and you guys want to see some live content, we do stream on twitch.tv/videogamehouse to capital VGH. I am on at every Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday at 7 o'clock p.m. is my usual start time, and I usually like to play off-meta, entertaining, fun, wacky, crazy decks, even decks that my chat gives me in my Discord, into these tournaments to have a lot of fun. I want to have more fun than anyone else on Pokemon Live, so feel free to bring in your wacky list. If you think it can do well in a tournament, bring it in. I'll edit it, I'll work on it with you, and you might have your deck featured in a video in the future. Quick shout out to the Redacted Paradox tournament held every Sunday at 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Limitless TCG. You will be able to find that in the description as well. If you guys are able to get into that tournament, there's a % chance you can challenge me in a tournament match and be on stream, and obviously show off your deck and your skills. I also give away a lot of codes during my events, and with the release of Paldean Fates, you guys can get some free Paldean Fates codes. So I hope you guys pop in every once in a while and say hello. After that, though, I will see you guys all later. Good night, everybody.